Lesson 5, Declining Names. Michael, when we say declining names, does that mean that someone offers you a name, but you turn it down?
I hope not.
So we don't mean declining like refusing a name. We mean declining like putting the different noun endings on a name.
That's exactly right.
Okay, I get it. So why do we put different endings on a person's name?
Latin word order is a lot freer than English word order. Now, there are still rules, but because of the way that this is different than English, we need to somehow specify who's doing what in a sentence, you know? In English, I'll say maybe Patrick is walking to the store. And I know that Patrick is the one who's doing the walking because of where Patrick is in the sentence. But maybe in Latin, it's to the store, Patrick is walking.
Right, the word order could be completely different.
And what if there are two people named Patrick?
Well, that's just confusing.
Well, yes, but we can tell the difference if we use our case endings correctly in Latin.
So when you say case endings, you mean that a person's name is just a noun like any other noun, and it can have all the different endings that any other noun could have, right?
Exactly so.
Okay. So here in this lesson, what we want to do is just show you that names can have all the different endings that any other noun can have. And so we have two names here. We have Claudia and Robertus. Claudia is going to be a first declension feminine name and therefore a first declension feminine noun. So the word Claudia will get all the endings of the first declension. Robertus is a masculine name from the second declension, so it can get all the endings from the second declension.
Can you think of some nouns, maybe from the first book, that are good examples of those declension endings?
Well, the word scapha, which means boat, is a very common one. And in the second declension, we had gladius, which means sword.
Exactly.
So in this lesson, we have the various cases being used in sentences. So you can see in the nominative case, we have Claudia Robertus. In the genitive case, we're showing possession. So Claudia, like any first declension noun, has the ending AE. So Claudii means of Claudia. And in this case, the house, the casa, belongs to Claudia. So it's casa Claudii. For the second declension, we have Roberti. That's the genitive singular ending, or the genitive singular form. So ad casam Roberti means to the house of Robert, or Robert's house. So I am walking to Robert's house. We just talked about the dative case a few minutes ago in the quick review box. Here we have the dative case with Claudia and Robert. So Claudii is dative singular. Roberto is also dative singular. So we're giving money to Claudia, telling a story to Robert. So the dative case there expresses the indirect object. In the accusative case, we have people watching Claudia and watching Robert, so they become the direct object. And so they are in the accusative case, Claudiam, with the first declension, accusative singular ending, Robertum with the second declension, accusative singular ending. And finally, they can be ablative too. If they're the object of the preposition cum, which means with, you can say cum Claudia, which means with Claudia. Cum Roberto means with Robert. So we have that in our example sentences here. So as you can see, proper names, that is the names of people, are nouns just like any other nouns and can have all the endings of their declension just like any other noun in that declension.
Well, I have a couple of questions about that for you, Bill, because as you'll learn later on in this book, some of the names aren't going to follow this pattern. We talked about earlier Gaius Julius Caesar, and that doesn't seem like a first or second declension noun to me, does it?
You're not supposed to mention the third declension yet. That's kind of a secret.
Oh, really? So I should just go ahead and not point out here that it says, as I mentioned before, if you pick a name for yourself from the third declension or a name of Greek origin, the endings may be different?
The third declension is hereby declared top secret because they don't learn that for about another 90 lessons. No, I'm just kidding. But the third declension, a lot of people will have names from the third declension or a name that has an origin in ancient Greek. So the endings will be different. And we might talk about some of those as we go along. But the names we're giving you here in this particular lesson are very simple names from the first and second declensions so that you can just see what's happening here and start to use these names with all the endings that you currently know.
And if for some reason you're still starting to worry about that third declension, because there's always that temptation to know everything at once, don't worry. I promise, it's really not that complicated. When you get there, you'll see that you are already prepared for it.
And toward the end of this book, I cover the third declension in great detail, and so you'll get your big chance to do the third declension later. So don't worry, we'll get there. Before we go on to Lesson 6, let's look at this quick review here. In English, the word you can be singular or plural. If I say you, I could be talking to one person, or I could be talking to more than one person. That's just the way the word you works in English. So, for that reason, it can be confusing, especially if you're in a conversation. It might be ambiguous how many people you're talking to. So, for that reason, in different parts of the United States, we've developed these sort of gimmicks or ways to have some kind of second-person plural way to say you.
Wait. What do you mean second person plural?
Well, first person is like I or we. Second person is you. And third person is he, she, it, or they. We talk about verbs that way, right? In a first person, second person, or third person. So in the second person is all about the person you're talking to or the people you're talking to. So in the South, where I'm from, I've lost most of my accent, but I've been told occasionally that people can hear a Southern accent when I talk. But where I'm from in the South, we say y'all. Okay, so if we want to talk to one person, we say you. If we want to talk to multiple people, we say y'all, which, as you know from getting started with Latin, is just a contraction of the word you and all. It's you all.
And some people say that too. I might say, you all are crazy about Latin. And, there are in some parts of Pennsylvania where people actually say yins.
Yeah, that's Pittsburgh.
Exactly.
Y-I-N-Z. Yins is their second person plural pronoun. It's how you say y'all in Pittsburgh, yins. And up north, you might hear someone say use guys.
Yeah, what about use kids?
So Y-O-U-S, use, or use guys, yins, and y'all. These are all ways that we've made up in English to make up for the fact that we don't have a plural you. But we need one, so we make them up. And so in this particular book, just for fun, I always say y'all for second person plural. Why? To make it clear what the Latin is saying. And in this book, we're going to learn a few more pronouns later, and you'll be glad that we have that because it'll help you to differentiate. So when you see the word y'all being used to translate the second person plural, just have fun with it. And remember that the whole purpose of it is just to help you learn and help you know when something is singular in the second person and when it's plural. That's the whole point, is just to help you learn. So try to have fun with it. And don't worry, it's not going to ruin your English speaking if you don't like the word y'all. So
now y'all come back for lesson 6, you hear?